Hey, here we are. Welcome everyone. Welcome Darren.
Hello.
Diru, my man, how are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. This is going to be fun.
Did you hear the countdown song?
I did. I like it.
It's one of yours.
I know. I could tell. At first I was like, huh, man, someone's
sounds
got
familiar.
very, very similar tastes.
I'm lucky that you shared some audio files with me so I can, steal them from time to time and
Have at
share
it.
them.
Those are the fun ones. Those are like things I don't really do a lot with. And so anytime you or if I find a reason to use them, it makes me get out of bed the next day. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do something different.
Exactly.
So,
Same with my poems. I love when they are being used. So we're here tonight to just basically have fun like we like to do with words and sounds. We thought we would try something different in the sense of we would pick up something that we've been working on or we have started doing but we haven't really finished, or maybe we're not quite happy with it, or maybe we want to put words to music or music to words. So that's why we decided to have this live. And I know that some people will be, well, I'm hoping that some people will be interested in what we can offer in terms of how do you, when you have a few lines of poetry, how do you expand on that? How do you create a song from that? Or when you have a musical idea, how do you get to poetry? And
yeah.
Diru, usually you start with first the words or first the music?
I almost always start with some sort of melody. And for me, it's fastest to get to a melody on a guitar. So sometimes I'm just choosing one or two or three notes or some chords, something simple. But I'm always trying to emote what I'm feeling in a sound and trying to connect. And so that's the challenge, right? Is to be honest in my playing, is to not care what you think about it or anyone, because it's just like having a good cry when you're really frustrated. It's that sort of let out for me. So, I think that's why it's just easier for me. But as you've taught me how to access and play with words and that, I don't tell a lot of people this, although we're live, is like I drive in my car and I do work on a lot of freestyle rapping, and I pull over and I write those things down. One of which today started as an inspiration from someone's poem, Eduardo X, and I took what his made me feel and went away and said, what would I write about that? And so it's sort of coming at it backwards this time. Oh, hey, thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome, Chris.
This is my adult sandbox. Yes.
Yeah, for me it's a bit difficult when you write words. You don't really have a sandbox that you can sort of share. I mean, it's my computer or maybe it's my notebook, but there's nothing really fancy to show and share anyway. So,
a lot of people think I have a lot of fancy gear, but I love a cheap instrument that I can make sing. So I love a $100 guitar or a $20 yard sale, and I'll take that and I'll work on it and make it something else. It's just each one has a different sound. So, yeah, some things are fancy behind me, but for the most part, I'm just a normal dude. And instead of driving a nice car or doing things around the house I'm supposed to, this is what I do. so.
All right. So today you have a poem you say that you want to put into song.
Yeah, let me pull it up here. I'm going to move my screen around. Apologize for those who might be sitting at the side of my head for a sec.
And actually I have two texts, but one of them is is really just a few words from a song by Josias Tuje, who is the amazing musician, composer, arranger that I work with when we compose songs, or that's a hobby that we are pursuing, and recently came and said, I have this melody, I have this image, I know what the story is, I have written some lyrics, I don't know them yet, but there is a part where I want more like a poem, or slam, maybe rap type of things, I don't know. So I started doing a little bit of lines on that, but I think it can be interesting to see how we can expand on that.
When you do slam poetry, or when you say you're working on a slam, what gets you there? How do you get your mindset into that moment?
Very good question. I don't know what to answer yet.
So while you're thinking, I'll freestyle and say, well, so what you helped me do when I was writing the book, or writing my chapter of Boys Do Cry. For those that don't know, there's a book coming out with 15 other men authors. Dorothy's been so amazing at helping me write this stuff. And as I've gotten into it, I don't like writing. So to get into the mode of not just aggression or telling a story, I have to put on loud music, and there's a song list, and it works every time for me. Sometimes I have to physically get in the car and put that on and just drive around and just make some noise, where I don't feel like anybody can hear me, and then I can kind of get into it.
Yeah, see what you're doing there. Absolutely. I think that's why I like to compose together with somebody else. So when we are listening to music, or like kind of a melody, or the starting point, even of the melody rather than the chords, or a starting point of a song, then what I need in that case is to be connected with that person, and from what they tell me about the song itself, or what we hear in the music, we sort of imagine, I guess, a metaphor or a feeling. What does it relate to? What does it evoke? And from there, we can start with the rhythm that's given by the song. We can sort of start improvising. And then, so we sort of improvise, we start improvising on the melody, we add some words, and, and I repeat a lot the sentences, because, by repeating, then I get to the next line or something like that. So that's how we've been creating songs. Or sometimes I will, for poetry, often it's a word, or it's maybe a line, the first line of a poem will sort of be resonating with me, and so I want to write some more. So I will, and then I will be in the car just like you, and I will be sort of saying the poem, inventing it as I go along, and then often there is some form of melody with that, and then I record it on my phone. And sometimes I stop when it's getting too tricky. Then I stop and write it down, or record it in the phone. And often those poems don't need much editing, because they are in the flow of the music, and they started with something that was already there. There was a line, or there was a verse, or something like that.
So you're just driving around in Brussels. You put in your Tupac "All Eyes on Me" CD.
No, I don't listen to music much, except the music I'm learning to sing. So.
So how do you get the melody then? Where's that coming from?
It just comes. I have no idea.
Are you humming it though? If it's not music in the background, is it a humming? Are you singing like out loud? What's it like?
I'm kind of humming. It would be humming and singing out loud, and the words that are coming to me. So I would sort of hum, sing, hum, that type of thing, or maybe just, if it's not really a melody at this point yet. It's just it's kind of the words maybe are making some sounds, and so I'm using the resonance in the words, in the vowels, and that brings to a certain rhythm or pattern
Right.
that's often has to change afterwards when we put it into song. But and yeah, so that's so the melody comes from the words and from the inspiration. Sometimes it may be something I heard on the radio. There's a song like a song poem that I wrote like that, which is really from listening to a song on the radio and writing over it in a way. But yeah, that's how it happens. And then there's a third type of inspiration, which is when we want to write about a particular topic, and so we ask a question and we share the answer. So we sort of go deeper into that topic, like I do in the poetry workshop. And then from everyone's contribution, then there are some words that come, there are some feelings or some wisdom that comes, and then I put that into a poem. And there was I was thinking of a fourth one, but I forgot. Yeah, I don't know anymore. There are many ways to get into. Yeah, if you use a card or an object or an image, the characteristic of the object, and then you sort of associate it with something, then that creates also a new inspiration. And Olivier here is helping me out. Sometimes you inspire from the universe and you inspire your poetry out there. Yeah, absolutely. That's what happens, Olivier. Thank you. It's sometimes I really have no idea where it comes from, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so, I'm just it just comes through me, and that's all I can say.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have that experience as well. So, Olivier, is
That's
there... sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say that's just I feel like in the gifting of it, and then I think the hard work at the gifting is what helps it pop up like all over the place. If
Yeah.
you're just gifted and you dabble, you never really grow. You're still good or above average without practice, sort of like putting down the guitar for 10 years, sort of thing.
Yeah. But yeah, there is practice.
Definitely. But when I watch you in a room of people conversating, you're fully engrossed in the conversation, yet you're like me where I can fully listen to a piece of music, but I'm like, I'll take that. Thank you, sir. Uh-huh. Perfect. Oh, I love that little, I'm going to put that on a mandolin instead, like that's, and so watching that go down is like, how did that happen? Because you come back with a poem after a meeting and you've hit everybody's heartstring and they're all crying. And it's basically because it's their words. And I don't think I didn't notice that at first, but because it's my words and your words and everybody's words of this, you make a moment happen that was regularly probably just going to end a Zoom meeting, And so, to me, that's really like, yeah, you're sort of like a DJ with words, and maybe that's your background of just reading as a child, where I was into music. I just listened to whatever I could get my hands on, even if it was bad. I was always like, this is weird. What is this?
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot like you have a huge vocabulary of all these different languages and feelings. And one word in English is not the same feeling or emotion in a different language sometimes. And so I think also you're blessed with that ability to dabble in cultures
Yeah.
and be engrossed in really the depth of the conversation at the same time.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, and in terms of language, it's also interesting when I write in English and then I translate into French or vice versa, is that having to, in a way, to perfect the poem through the language, it allows me to then improve the original version of it, or to realize, okay, there's a second version that's it's slightly different. So to leave it at that, or
Yeah.
to review the original and make it more effective in a way, because as I've been translating some of the things that maybe were maybe fluffy words, the words or expressions that didn't really mean that much, or they were nice to hear, they had a nice sound, but how do I translate that? And then I'm forced to edit. And I think that's also a key element of good poetry and music, is to be able to, what they say, kill your babies, is to
Yeah.
to get rid of the unnecessary words and sounds, and to make it very effective, which doesn't make it too simple, but just working.
Like
So
what you've done with my writing for the book. You just kind of get a lot of the stuff out there that maybe growing up we've learned this is how you write a story, but it doesn't create an interesting, compelling tale. It's too much, right? You get all that out and then it's impactful.
yeah.
Well, the way you write, it's impactful every time.
Well, I think you have a very, very, I would say, specific type of writing. I mean, for me, it reminds me a bit of Hemingway, or but not that I'm any expert or anything like that. But there's something in your language, in your writing language, that's both very sensory. So it's very, we can see the scene and the picture that you're describing, but it's not. It doesn't require a lot of words. It doesn't require to be too round about it. It's very direct and effective, and and I guess through business writing, I've also learned to sort of cut down text and that type of things. But
Sure.
I think I'm just helping you notice what's in your writing, rather
Definitely.
than make you try to do something that you think might be expected from you. And that's not the idea. It's always to be your own style, right? Your own brand.
That's why
So
the first draft was so bad for me. Like,
no,
what
it
was this?
wasn't. But
For me, it was bad. It didn't feel right. Yeah.
it didn't feel right, exactly. So Olivier is on a roll here. The vibration of a word may also be different from a person to another. Absolutely. And that's why I love to record the poem for love in many languages and many voices, because every occurrence is different.
And Olivier, just as Dorothy read that, as I'm learning Dorothy's style of writing too, I'm capturing things that I read or hear that cause me to feel a way. And so I wrote down, the vibration of a word, because that really struck me. Because it does differ, and it can be a big deal. It can be little teeny, and it can be huge. So that's amazing. Thank you, Olivier.
Yeah. I will. I propose you have. I will share the. I think I will. I want to start with the text that I kind of wrote. I mean, it's really absolutely not perfect. It's a first kind of something that I wrote on the basis of Joe's melody. And so I can sort of share a little bit about how I could expand on those lyrics. And then maybe you can, first share your text maybe, and then I'll share mine, and then we see how we can work with both those texts.
Actually, do you have any melody we could hear from Joe?
The melody from Joe, yeah? You want to hear it first?
I think so.
Yeah. Let me share that. See, I hope it works.
Because that's the seed, right? It came from Joe.
Yeah,
the start. So let's kind of get in the mood of what the writing is, and then I'll be able to hear your words better.
So let me share the screen. Okay, with sound. Let me know if you don't hear. I should wait. No. So please know that our sounds will be heard as well as we're playing, right? So don't say anything while we're playing.
I will mute myself.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I will play it now. Et le titre, c'était quoi encore?
I have to do it. How to do
Had to do it.
it. How to do it. C'est après ça qu'il y a un espace où il y a l'islam qui vient encore, tu vois.
This is where he would like me to put writing.
C'est l'islam qui commence.
Here it starts. Right? Voila, that's it.
Nice work, Joe.
Yeah.
I was playing at home with my coconut kalimba and my shaker.
Excellent. So that's that.
And so that last third is a spoken word, or is it to be a sung melody right there?
It's spoken word. So
Okay.
he has he's writing the lyrics of the song, and he wants a section that's spoken words, and that's yeah. And the title of the song is "Had to Do It."
Had to do it.
And it's about his vision. It's about choices you make. You know, sometimes you made the wrong choices, but eventually they lead you to discover something new. You know, like the expression of there is no lotus without mud. So it's about, you know, accepting that you may have gone into directions that may not be the right or the final directions for you, but they are the ones that when you look through it, you find diamonds, or you find something beautiful like a rose, and yeah, and it has this image of a rose in at the bottom of a freshly dug grave. So that's part of the imagery.
The rose is growing, or someone threw it in there?
It's a good question. I have no idea.
Those are two very different images. Where are we going with this one, Joe? Are we dark, or are we?
Hey, we can do what we want with it.
All right.
He'll tell us. And so
love
the text I have so far, which is after one time listening to the song, I will put in the chat. We'll share that with the group. And so it needs to be enriched and expanded on and improved on, and, you know, made more. Yeah, okay. So it doesn't translate very well in the chat, but so it goes like this: you had to do it. You had to do it. The wrong turns, the strong choices. You listened to the wrong voices, and now you err, digging your own grave. You had to do it. You had to do it. Without error, you can't become. You can't become who you are. That's where I'm.
Wow. You know what that makes me feel like?
No.
Yeah, all of it really goes together. Made me feel like the same statements I would say when I was really deep in my migraines all the time. I would tell people I was digging my own grave with an excavator, like to a hole to nowhere, and there was no bottom. Those are the kind of statements I would use, right? And like that sort of, but what he's saying is also, I think he is saying there's a rose, that it's not dead.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, that's what he's saying. Yeah.
And yeah, the one thing I like about that is you can stop digging and grow a rose instead.
Yeah. Or discover that, discover that the digging you made taught you, either some skills or some values or something about yourself or something about your shadow that you needed to learn in order to, to continue to live, to continue to move on and to grow, as you say. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Darren, I would be interested in listening to the poem you want to work on, because there might often there is no randomness in these things. So, it would be interesting to see if there are connections to be made between the two.
All right. Let me see. I'll pull it up here.
And in the for people who are watching, there is you are welcome to add comments or your thoughts, or to write your own poem or song, with this two or with this one poem.
My voice isn't too loud in your headphones or
No, it's
anything?
fine. It's perfect.
Okay. So this is called Silence. And I got this, just the concept of sitting in this idea, not from Eduardo's poem, which is, I believe, also called Silence in his new book of poetry that's coming out. So here we go. Silence. Silence is folding, speaking when told, shut down, start the implode. Silence in the trees, 77 feet and free, 6 years old, a drunken spree. Silence. Memories of why gone again, trying to look back at when. Silence was golden then. Now I listen to silence. Silence listens to me. Opinions I no longer need. Silence. An apprentice of life, a steward of strife, laid down, living despite. Silence I no longer fear, fear no longer near. Now the silence I endear. Silence.
Wow. There's so many incredible things in there. I wrote down for me, I said, thinking about the song Silence in the Tomb, Silence in the Grave. What does silence mean when digging your own grave and maybe finding the rose? How does that resonate? And what are the things that you would like to, you would like to put it into song, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So
I just haven't found the chords of the yet. There's another artist named Jelly Roll, and he has a song called "Save Me." And when I think of this, it kind of feels like that. And he's talking about sort of his ways aren't working. The pills and the alcohol in this life, this stuff is no longer working. Save me, kind of a thing. But it's more of a slow acoustic, just acoustic guitar with no backing. And so I think for me the tough part is I'm not always, well, I'm not a great singer. I don't sing a lot, and so like if I hum, it's not what I want it to sound like a lot of times, even like how you might hum in the car. And so I think I usually would go towards the overall melody first, like the slow it down, get the chord progression, and then see if how the words fit in, because silence could be sung over a chorus. Just the word silence can be 8 bars. You know what I mean? Depending how it's sung.
One of the things I would propose as an experiment for you is to sort of repeat the poem and repeat it until there's some form of melody that comes from saying those words. And then you might go into whistling if humming is not working out, right? But to sort of allow the poem to give its sounds to you. Because that's sometimes especially with slam poetry, because they're longer poems, but repeating them in a row, it's kind of, at some point I start almost singing, because there is the melody of the words, of the sounds, of the vowels, and there might be a rhythm that comes from that you can then, a pulse that you can use, and then there might be, like in your voice, there might be like a chord, like a note that comes through, and I know that you can hear, the music, you can transform that into a chord, a note, or so.
Right.
So that would be a proposal to try out. But do you want me to read the poem?
Yeah.
just because listening to someone else might make a difference. And I think you sent it to me, right?
I did. I'm gonna
Yeah.
post it in
Yeah,
the live
and
chat too.
yeah,
If I do it on my phone like this, I think it'll work.
yeah. So, is it okay to start?
Yeah.
Silence. Make a difference, and I think you sent me.
Whoa.
Right?
Sorry.
It's there.
There we go.
Silence. Silence is folding. Speaking when told. Shut down, start to implode. Silence in the trees. 77 feet and free. 6 years old, a drunken spree. Silence. Memories of why gone again. Trying to look back at when silence was golden then. Now I listen to silence. Silence listens to me. Opinions I no longer need. Silence. An apprentice of life, a steward of strife. I'm trying not stuff. Laid down, living despite. Silence I no longer fear. Fear no longer near. Now the silence I endear. Silence. Silence is folding, speaking when told. Shut down, start to implode. Silence in the trees. 7 feet in free. 6 years old, a drunken spree. Silence. 6 years old, a drunken spree. Silence. Memories of why gone again. Trying to look back at when silence was golden then. I love that phrase. Now I listen to silence. Silence listens to me. Opinions I no longer need. Silence. An apprentice of life, a steward of strife, laid down, living despite. Silence I no longer fear. Fear no longer near. Now the silence I endear. Silence. I have no idea. Does that sort of give you some thoughts, or?
It's definitely it's nicer to hear, for me, someone else read it so that I can experience it. It's not the same if I'm reading it. Yeah, I'm playing back in my head this sort of, some of the rhythms you had. I think the very first time kind of caught right in the middle, and I was like, oh, I like that. And so would you just go back and just keep playing with that same, try to see, well, that's the other thing, is like the rhythm of the words doesn't have to be the same like every single stanza. It could be up and down, and
Yeah, I mean, in a song you have the bridge and you have the chorus, so you also have different parts, and you can play with that, right?
totally.
And you can have some rapping parts, and all these things. So, yeah, I would, like, in terms of some of the stuff that you heard in what I was saying, or in how you're saying it, I would repeat that over and over again, even using the same lines, and then that will bring to something.
I'm not necessarily playing. This is what I do to think.
So what I'll do in the meantime while you're thinking, I will just share. Well, actually, there's a couple of techniques that you use in the poem that help when you want to expand on something, right? So on the poem, so like I will work on my poem, but like something you've done is repeating words from the end of the verse at the beginning of the next verse, right? So for instance, and you have also done some twists, like now I listen to silence, silence listens to me. So that's very interesting to do in poetry. Silence I no longer fear, fear no longer. So you end with no longer fear, and then you start with fear, and you inverse no longer as well. And there's a lot of rhyming as well, not necessarily at the end, but Yeah. So what you can do is, and I'll share a couple of slides. If you want to expand
yeah.
on a poem, like I expanded on this one that I had of tea poetry, handful pot of words singing, swirling, swinging, sweet. And then I expanded on it, and it became teapot, tea poetry, handful pot of words singing, swirling, swinging, my sensational world endlessly whispering to me, my sensational world endlessly whispering to me, whispering a steady steam of feelings, swirling a string of words, swinging, swinging, singing, swinging, sweet. Sorry. So I've added words. So I've made it an accordion poem, but also I have, as you did, like smiling faces all around. I've put a round of applause for the sun, and by writing around, I came up with applause for the sun, or my sensational world endlessly whispering a steady steam, a steam of. So this type of things can help. And or I don't know if you can see if it's in the way. Yeah, you have you add one word, security plus one, but that's an example. Huh? Security plus the same word plus one word. So security is protecting my integrity. So silence is my fear. Silence is my fear. I no longer. Silence is my fear. I no longer have, and so on. So these are a couple of ways that you can play with poetry, and then of course, counting the syllables. So that helps you create new ones. Play with vowels and consonants.
So when you count syllables and I count like the percussiveness of it, because like I don't even think it's just necessarily syllables, because like certain words have frequencies, right? If I'm coaching a rap artist that does the same thing every time, like this, it's real boring. And that's the way rap was in the 80s, and now it's like, if you listen to it, if it's two the same, it's kind of white noise. And so what would you call those areas in between the syllables that are sort of the
way that we would do it in to make it richer? Well, like in music, you would have either a change of rhythm or you would have underlying rhythms. You would create something that's more lyrical than sort of staccato or something like that. So you'd have like the drums would be doing the one particular rhythm. Then there would be some longer vowels when you're singing, and that creates a richness. In the poetry, in slam poetry, you would also create inner rhymes. So you would have I don't remember what the example I had, but you would have not the rhyme only at the end of a verse, but you would have like a word in between there that's rhymes with maybe the first word of the second rhyme and things like that. So you'd have this play where there's constantly words responding to each other, and of course silence will help also to create resonance or to punctuate something. And then of course you have the choice of, and that's, when I'm counting syllable, it's one way, but it's not the best way for song making, as you said, because like especially in in English you would have the accent falls in a particular syllable, right, on a particular syllable, like if I say, I have to pick, let me see. If I say following, right, the accent is on the following, right? Belonging, right? I don't know where the accents are anymore. Well, belonging, belong. The accent is on long. So there is a dictionary. You can look in a
Oh.
dictionary for that, but it's like the accentuation sound long,
Yeah.
and so the in belong, the long would have to fall on the beats of the music, right? On that first beat or the accentuated beat of the music. So it makes it a little tiny tricky sometimes,
Well, and
especially
then
with me.
and then in music, that's never the case because you could just take that last ONG and enunciate that of belong, like, and then ing can kind of fade away.
Yeah, yeah,
The accent could be on the B, so that it sounds, so then instead of saying belong, you're actually saying be longing, but
Yeah.
in a statement like
Yeah.
that.
yeah.
What do you call
Yeah.
that? That's not a pseudo rhyme. That's like when you say belonging, but then I say belonging. I'm saying belonging, but also you should be longing to
Yeah,
belong.
yeah.
Like,
It's a pun that's made on through the accentuation, but
interesting.
I don't know what the technique would be called. Yeah, so that's what I would now I would work with, because I kind of have Joe's song in my mind, kind of, so I can sort of play with that, and so I will write in function of what I hear in the song, and so I will also be strict with the kind of the number of words, or the where the beat that I have, the number of letters or the lines I have, and that type of things. I know that he likes to have eight lines. We often have 8 lines, so I'm going to stick with that. And I often write in 4 lines. So we will put two 4 lines together, and that makes 8, and etc. etc.
Got you.
So I don't know if I'm getting confusing, but anyway.
Well, the only problem with some of those things is the novice people, or that people that think they aren't gifted at it. That stuff blocks them at entry level,
yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so there's no rules to music. There's
Yeah.
no rules to language. There's no rules to poetry unless you believe it yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
The only judgment is your own, and don't worry about anyone else's, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't, like, that's how Joe writes music. I've never once started a song and known where the end was going to be. I never know it's going to be 8 bars, 32, 64, 130. And I think that's because if I'm going to do guitar music or something more, I'm thinking like Pink Floyd. They're like, some of their songs are 2-3 minutes. Some of them are like 15. It's whatever they're trying to say or do. And it wasn't to sell records. It was like those guys were just vibing out and being nerds with their guitars. And so I love that idea.
I must correct what I said, because I don't know if that's what Joe likes to do. It's just that, because I do 4 lines of, often I have my poetry will be that. Then when we work on the songs, we play with, and we create something that's consistent, right? But you can do whatever you like. Please do whatever you like. I mean, we have enough of structure in this world, so.
Totally.
Well,
there's a lot of people with music theory knowledge that don't know how to create what they want to make.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Don't let anything get in your way of being creative.
And here the idea is really we have already started something, so it's how to go to the next level with that, right?
Cool.
So I'm going to write, to continue to work on this poem. I will give myself what are you going to do? Are you going to play and see what comes up with your song?
Yeah, would that be a big distraction for you?
No.
Because I would be like,
No, not at all. I will, if it needs be, I'll just put out my earbuds, so.
The other thing that is something I often do is I'll put someone else's music in my ears and play my music on top of their music. So maybe we should listen to Joe's music I don't know if you can change the volume, and I'll lower mine. And I'm
Do you want me to
gonna
put it harder or louder?
maybe put it like right in the middle so we can chat if we need to, but I'm probably just gonna play along with his song.
Yeah.
And right in front of me, I'm reading my words. Silence. Silence is folding. And so I'm going to be playing his song until I feel his emotion. And I'm just going to play single notes or like what I was doing before. I don't know if you could see off camera, but I was just, I was like shaking like this. And I'm like, nope, that's not his song. And then I was like, oh, nope, that's not it. And it's like, and so I'll just dabble until I kind of vibe. And
Okay.
so
Well, will give us the time of the song, and we see what happens with that, right?
yeah.
So I'll share. I'll share again. Let's see.
Play this guy.
Share screen. Make it louder as well.
That's my volume. Oh, I'm
And I'm playing now. Et le titre c'était quoi encore?
I have to do
I'm gonna mute mine. I got a little echo.
Okay. Try something. Yeah, no. Oh well, okay, maybe I can. Well, I can do that.
From that, I think I did find my chord. So my volume
Wait,
is
I'm
sliding.
pausing. Sorry, go ahead. You found your chord?
Crazy echo. And I'm listening to myself a half second. Let me do this.
Diru, I can. Shall I stop the sharing?
No. I had to take my headphones off so I could talk. I was listening to myself with the delay. I was saying I think I found my chord in the middle of this. And could you back it up maybe like 20, 30 seconds?
30 seconds, okay. something like
Maybe
that.
right around where that 2-minute mark was. And then I'm going to remute because I'm going to...
C'est après ça qu'il y a un espace où il y a le slam qui vient encore, tu vois. Après ce passage, pas encore tout arrangé, mais c'est un peu ça. Pourquoi les instruments ça part comme ça, et puis le temps du slam, il n'y a plus aucun instrument. C'est juste
Yeah, that's him sharing how he would play the instruments and which he would add and so on.
What is he saying? Which other instruments would he like?
I don't know. I was cutting down there.
Oh, okay.
I love to listen to Joe when he explains about, but I wasn't listening there. But because he has this kind of whole image of what's going to happen, which the drums there and the saxophone here and all these things. So.
And when he does that, is he getting live musicians to do those pieces?
When we can, I mean, with COVID and so on, we had to sort of stop doing that for a long while. But yeah, as soon as, well, he's doing some of that with other people, some of his songs. But in terms of us, we as soon as we can, we do it with live musicians. Yeah.
That's cool. Do you know where you'll play?
No, but everywhere we can.
I love it.
Probably, a neighbor stage. the neighbors party to start with.
There might be a LinkedIn world tour coming soon.
Yes, absolutely. So, Diru, do you want to share what you have or tell about the process?
So yeah, again, for anybody that doesn't know me, I'm not a poet. Well, I wouldn't. I am a poet now.
Yes.
I used to never write poetry. I used to never write at all. Period. Until what, a year and a half, 2 years ago, I think. Dorothy, you started helping me with this stuff. So, and that started really from your poem and What Is to Say.
Mm.
And I took that and was very moved by those words and instantly had those chords there. Those two. Because I needed that little bit. What is to say? That little bit to me is like the little calling. Can you hear my guitar?
Yes.
So in this song, I was looking for a way to take my words and somehow make a melody, and you were reading it, and I just couldn't get the words to make the melody. So what from now, I think after hearing Joe's, which like you said, there's no accidents, or as Bob Ross says, a happy accident. His poem is very, or his song is very similar in tone to where mine is. Different song, but very similar in what we're both saying. We probably had a lot of similar rough experiences, he and I. So I just heard his song. At first, I'll start playing along with it. So I'm just kind of, noodling, looking for the notes in the song. And then I started with the usual chords, thinking I wanted it to be maybe in a key. I started with that one again. That's A minor. But it just wasn't, and I kind of moving around and it's not working. And I'm not comparing his music with mine or trying to make them fit. I'm really listening in my ears to the mood and going, what's my mood like? And so I ended up with 2 out-of-tune guitars and then this chord. So that's my silence chord. Because I think that's a real melancholy.
Yeah.
Obviously that's blues, but
Yeah.
but so when I'm playing that, that's a real jazzy chord. So you can take those chords and however you manipulate it. And so I'll probably play that one real slow. And then I don't know where to go next. Because if I go up to that next one, it sounds jazzy. So I just started with that. Silence. What is silence? It's folding.
Silence is folding.
Those
Speaking
notes.
when-
That little box.
Speaking when told.
Right there. See? Because then I hate that. I don't want to speak when I'm told. Screw you. So I hit you with the bass note. That's where my mind is going. I'm
Shut
playing by the
down. Start the implodes. Silence in the trees. 7 feet and 3.
I need a higher chord.
Six-year-olds and drunken spree.
I'm gonna have to work on that next one. You can keep reading.
Silence. Memories of why gone again. Trying to look back at when silence was golden then. Trying to look back at when silence was golden then. Now I listen to silence. Silence listens to me. Opinions I no longer need. Silence. an apprentice of life, a steward of strife, laid down, living despite. Silence I no longer fear, fear no longer near. Now the silence I endear. Silence. Silence I no longer fear. The silence I endear. Silence. Silence is folding. Now I listen to silence. Silence listens to me.
Yeah, that kind of works, huh?
I like it.
Just as you're reading it, I could kind of like, oh yeah, okay, maybe I'm just going to stick with those. Remember how I said in the beginning, those two chords are too jazzy? It's because I was going up instead of down. So I just flipped it over. And then
Yep. That's a neat trick.
And then
Yeah.
if it's a little melancholy, so that's why I was looking for the little noodles. Try to stay on the positives, on the, give it a little bit of embellishments that are maybe not electric. As I'm saying that, you would
might be
expect an electric guitar.
There might be a transition of chord at key at some point to go for I don't know if it's A minor, then there's a relative key that's C major.
That's C.
Yeah, so that could
That works.
yeah. And so normally you there's hardly no difference, but you go to a major key, and that creates that more happy kind of feeling. So you can play with that transition.
See? Stay in school, kids. That music theory pays off.
Yes.
Here's the trick, though, in life in general. You don't have to be good. You just have to surround yourself by amazing people. And here you are. So that's all I needed. Thank you.
Yeah, I couldn't do what you're doing, so.
I'm just pretending this is like I just have a jam track playing.
But it sounds like you are on track now for a song, right?
I do. Yeah, that's funny. And so I don't know who pays attention to LinkedIn, but if you looked at my posts earlier in the week, you'll see I was sort of noodling these two chords around. Maybe another non-happy or happy accident that wasn't a mistake is what I mean. And what you saw me doing was changing the key of my guitar early. So I was picking them up and going, all my guitars are in different tunings. And so I was like, no, it's not working. And then so now this one's regular tuned, like how normal people would use a regular guitar.
And so it works. Oh, it's strange.
It does.
Normal stuff works.
Sometimes.
Yeah. So what I'll do is, if you're okay, I'll share what I've written.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I'll share the screen, I guess. So, share the screen.
I bet you don't have this many wires wrapped around all your poetry.
That's the nice thing about poetry. You can carry it everywhere. You don't have to, lug stuff with you, or it doesn't take too much space. So here we go. So I've added lines. We'll see what it gives. You had to do it. You had to do it. Do what was there. Perhaps going somewhere. Somewhere is anywhere. You discovered nowhere. Here they are, the choices you made with your heart made of mind. Mind over matter, you said, is stronger than the heart. Here they are, the wrong turns in the road that brought you further. The toads on the road, they seemed to ignore you. You were not the prince you thought you were, you thought you had to be. Not the hope that you told. I didn't finish there. The strong choices you listened to, the wrong voices, and now you err, digging your own grave. You had to do it. You had to do it. Without error, you can become who you are. So in fact,
Oh, I like that.
in fact, I just I added the whole bunch of lines to the first two lines. I just realized now. So there you go. So what do you say?
Voila. No, I like it.
Hey, Josh is here. Hi, Josh.
Hey, Josh.
That's Joe.
Oh, Joe.
That's the creator of the song. Hey, I didn't send him. Did I send him? Are you still there, Joe? No, he's not. That's too bad.
Joe, thank you for the motivation and sending this song today. It's been really amazing to, although we're not playing music or doing art together, this is as close as we're getting, with a big pond in the middle of Europe and US. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate your music. It really helped me today. So thank you, Joe.
Yeah. I will make sure to share if he doesn't hear it because he wasn't aware I was going to share it. So I told him just before we went live, and I'm glad he was able to pass by. So cool.
Beautiful. Where were you gonna go with that one line you didn't finish? You.
Um,
You remember?
Something like you are here. Well, maybe I will write and you are here now. Here now. With your strong choices. Something like that. Yeah. The choices. Have I used choices a lot before? You see, that's what I would look that I'm not too repetitive, and I would probably need to include words that relate to the metaphor of the rose, the rose and the grave, just to because that's a nice image that he has given me, and so that would I'm going to exit the full screen, height, voila, there you go. So to play, but at the same time I like to see where it's leading me, as you said, not knowing what the end is. I have a sense of what kind of the metaphor or the feeling is, and I will also play with what I know, with my story, with Joe's story, with maybe what's going on in the world, and these things will also be food for the poetry. So I could add something about music or words or poems, but I might not do that, just for a change as well. But there's also something about with your strong choices, the accidents, the unwelcome accidents, or something like that. Just to play also with the idea of the roads that could, you can go into the mountain, you can, there's many different routes you could take, that type of things. Crossroads because of choices.
Crossroads is one that I get a lot. I'd be careful with that because of how much it's used in music.
Yeah.
I'm like that too with certain things. And one of the things you've shown me is there's just websites even where I didn't know for pseudo rhyming, which sometimes I've gotten into that and then rewrite the first word
Yeah.
and then change it again
Yeah.
so that it's not the same and
Yeah.
different expression, you know.
Or looking for synonyms is also very interesting because it brings you to different maybe sounds or rhyming that you might normally tend to use, or it may trigger a new idea or a new image. And yes, when you're using something that's overused, it's good to then twist it around or add a contrasting word. So black snow is better than white snow, for instance, because there's
Yeah.
something interesting with that maybe. Or red snow is, ooh, what's going on there? You know, so that type of things will be helpful. So for me, it was good that we did this because I wanted to work on this poem and I never take really time for that at the
Right.
moment. So now I've gotten into that mood and I know I can work further on that. And yeah, I mean it's what it is, but it will now it's going to be on the back burner, and things will evolve from there.
Definitely. And when you say back burner, for you, is that the same thing? Like you get sort of that creative like push, and then like for me, I'll even just stop because then I'm actually trying, and then I'll leave, and
Yeah.
like you said, it hits you in the car, or the shower, or whatever, you know. So when you say, yeah, how does that work for you? What's the rest of your process?
Then there is I know that it's like as if a file has been opened and it's being written in a process that I'm not aware of, but I know that there is something happening, and it's going to just like a stew, it's going to stew, and at some point, either because I take the piece of paper, or because I come across it, or because just I will have this line or image that's just going to want to be written, basically. And it might be a different poem, or it might be this that gets improved, or so that's why I always say that it's that I always have the intention of writing, and that it's good to have that intention, because when you have that intention and you don't force it, but you have some tension towards it. It's like in singing. If you sing but you're not putting any tension on it, it's not going to be. You're not going to be as inspired or as communicative or as accurate in your singing, powerful in your singing, than when you have the tension. But it doesn't have to be a tension that prevents you from singing. So it's kind of the how you can hold something without squeezing it. You hold it. It's clear. It's like a bird. The bird, it feels that you're holding it. It cannot escape in that sense.
Right.
But you're not killing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're holding it. But if you're not, if there's not enough tension, then there cannot be any interaction. Something like that. Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, that's definitely. It's like I think part of sometimes it's creating music live, or working on a show like this where it's only fake pressure we're putting on ourselves because we're not on CBS or something or some big network. But for me, that little bit of pressure and intentionality, like you're saying, of like, I'm going to set up and do this. I don't know if I would have done this amount of time today at this poem for myself. I would have probably made other music for other people that wanted or needed or something. People are always asking me to make them little songs for their podcasts, or I don't know, just for fun. I'll do a recording and send it to Kenny D at night or something,
Kenny.
Yeah. And so I don't ever just say at 11 o'clock Tuesday, I'm going to spend 2 hours because I spent the time writing this poem. And this is what I actually wanted to do today. If I was honest, I want to really find solution to that.
Yeah.
So thank you for that idea of, and a reminder that there is a good tension as long as we have balance.
Yeah.
So
And create it, the deliberate practice, the intention, and when you share that with somebody else, that makes it so much more um, open and rich and strong, because something happens in between us and with the music, and it's
yeah,
you and it's me, but it's also the space around us, and that pressure. I mean, I can sense that the other text I had in mind, I would not have been able to work on that, because because there was music, we needed to have the music or something like that. So
yeah,
so there's, there's some limitations to what we can do live like that, but we can do more because we do it live as well. So but
definitely.
creating those moments and those spaces is very important. I think it's where things become possible.
Yeah, absolutely. You hear a lot of stories about musicians taking like 2-3 years to write an album, and I would tell you it's probably because they don't take that part of themselves seriously enough to put other people aside to handle their own, you know, craft and art that they're trying to create. Now, sometimes things take time as well,
Mm,
but I hear that story from a lot of people.
yeah,
And then out of 2020 came the year following, a lot of professional musicians that made full length albums out of their own homes in less than a year. And then when you watch interviews of them, they're all saying, I stopped taking myself seriously. I no longer will tour because that isn't why I do this. I didn't want to do those things. And all it did was make me distracted, you know? And so then you turn around and like these artistic people, a lot of them, even you watch huge shifts in the crowds of people that they're hanging with because, they don't want to just drink and smoke and party for years and never do what they really wanted
yeah,
to do.
yeah, yeah.
And, I don't party. I would end up putting work first.
Mm,
And that's my pattern. And work first is always physically taking huge tolls on me. So, I'm gonna look at this as a learning opportunity as well as to take this more seriously.
yeah,
I do set my alarm in the morning and I don't look at my phone and get up and go work on my guitar music, or I'll go, one of my other devices. And that's like, I feel like I'm going to school in the morning and I don't schedule other things then. But I've never taken it seriously to where I want to create and finish the things I've created. So
mm,
I'm going to work on this. And just as it's come up twice, I want to get What Is to Say wrapped up, because some of the problems I had earlier, physically and then
yeah,
in the studio, we've solved all those problems. I've got my guitars are working, my recording stuff is working. And so, I really want to work on that as well. And for the sake of I'm worth it, and yeah, and I really enjoy it, and just as those two chords that Joe helped me find and you helped me find today, those will become the bow on this package I'm trying to create, and
cool.
just an expression. So thank you. So cool.
Thank you. You're welcome. It was a pleasure to have this moment with you.
Absolutely.
And I propose, if you want, is to replay, the chords and play with the chords that you had. And as we say goodbye and the broadcast, so we have that.
Sure thing. Plug back in. Oh man. How's that volume?
Great.
We'll go the other way and leave them on a high and start down and go high.
So I will push on the end broadcast button, and thank you everyone for being there. Thank you, Darren. And we'll see you soon on another impromptu play with music and words.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Dorothy. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah.